I'd like to report that the country's getting happier, but the truth of the matter is, notwithstanding some of the really good economic data that you just showed, the country is actually going in the wrong direction with respect to happiness. And one of the biggest reasons for this has to do with certainty. People are taking it out on Biden and the Biden administration. And one of the reasons for that is that when Joe Biden was running for president, his big promise was that things were going to be calmer, things were going to be more peaceful. There was going to be certainty that we were going to have an economy that was going to be running in a very certain, very stable way, that the coronavirus epidemic was going to be under control. And this is just, he couldn't promise these things, and yet he did. And now, well, what do we have? We have inflation. We have a lot of churn. We have a lot of people quitting their jobs. And most of all, we have a coronavirus epidemic that is apparently raging out of control. Whether or not it's as big a medical problem as we see right now is another matter. And this makes it look like, in fact, he is not in control in the way that he did. And that makes a lot of people feel insecure and indeed unhappy.
Yeah, I think it's that, too. I think it's because of what we're seeing with COVID, with Omicron spreading everywhere, shutting things down potentially, whether that be school, whether that be businesses, seeing the crazy lines we've seen. I actually just asked in the commercial break when these poll results were taken, because I think it's in large part that, too, just what's happening. December 17th through the 20th are when these poll results were taken. And that's when the Omicron spike came. And that came despite the vaccinations, despite this promise that we thought we were getting to the end of this never-ending pandemic. And despite the crazy messaging that's coming from the CDC. You're right. If you're feeling uncertain about things, not knowing what's coming next, then you don't really care what's happened over the last 12 months.
That's right. And, one of the things that we need to keep in mind is that, everybody's wondering, why are we having this great resignation? Why are we having all of this turmoil with respect to maybe just a few more weeks of the schools being closed? Well, our workplaces and our schools, these are not just economic arrangements. These are social arrangements. 70% of people say their best friends are at work. 58% of people say that they wouldn't quit their jobs for higher pay if it meant leaving their friends. Well, when we've taken away the entire social context, people are lonely. We're facing a mental health crisis, a wave of depression and anxiety like we've never seen before because of the way that we are not returning back to normal. And any little thing that says, we don't know what's going on, this might come back, there's another wave, the scientists don't know what's going on, the CDC doesn't know what's going on, we're getting very indecisive direction on this. People are going to take it out on the president. What's most important? The economics of what's going on in our country. But that's not emotionally the basis on which we're actually judging things, the negativity in which we find ourselves.
You are like our couch psychiatrist this morning. Everything you are saying makes an awful lot of sense. So what happens? How do we get our arms around this? Because, by the way, I got to say, we are not prepared. We weren't prepared for this wave. We don't have the testing. We don't have the monoclonal antibodies. It's pretty disheartening when you think, OK, I thought we'd be done with this by now. What happened?
Yeah.
How do we get things back in control?
Well, part of it is not making the false promise that we're going to beat the coronavirus epidemic once and for all. The truth of the matter is it's going to become an endemic problem. I mean, we all listen to our friend Scott Gottlieb all the time on this show. He's the best on this. And the truth of the matter is that the coronavirus epidemic is going to be something that we live with, much like many other viruses. And we will continuously develop new ways to deal with it. It will become less deadly, less scary. And we need somebody who helps us get back to normal life, notwithstanding COVID, instead of saying, you never know if your kids you're not going to go to school and you're going to have to take time off work. You never know if your office is going to shut down. You don't know if you're ever going to see your colleagues ever again. We just don't know. The don't know is incredibly disconcerting. There's a ton of data that shows that uncertainty is one of the greatest sources of human unhappiness. If we had leaders at the CDC and we had leaders in the White House and in the Congress and at the state houses around the country, some states are doing really well. Here in Massachusetts, we have a great governor who's doing a good job on this. But message this thing to saying, we are going to have to live with this, and we will get back to normal life as best we possibly can so that you can get on with your life. That's the kind of messaging that we need. That will raise happiness a lot.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.